Hello, welcome to Scrimy's Kitchen. Today I wanted to show you a couple of hobbies of mine that really joins two of my favorite things together. So I like to cook, I like to eat, I like to do math, and I think the reason I like cooking so much is because when I'm done I get to eat, and while I'm doing it I'm using math. So today I wanted to show you one of my favorite recipes. I like to cook what I call a breakfast cookie. And it's really just a cookie, but if you call it a breakfast cookie, you can have it earlier in the day, which is my favorite time, right away. So to make these breakfast cookies, I've got a couple of different ingredients. Some of them are already measured out, some of them will be measuring out as we go. I'm going to be putting in, first and foremost, 2 cups of oats. Now you can tell I've got 2 cups in my measuring cup. If you don't like oats as much as I do, you can change the recipe. You can cut this down to maybe 1.5 cups of oats, or if you don't want to make as many as I'm going to make, cut it in half. Just do a solid cup of oats. You're going to dump those in first. And then my next ingredient is going to be peanut butter. This is one of my favorite foods in the world, and this can be used in so many different recipes. I've already got a full cup measured out. And I left the spoon in there because it's much easier to get the peanut butter out when you have a spoon. Plus, when you're done, you get to eat what's ever left on the spoon. Kind of a bonus of cooking. My dad always told me, never trust a cook that doesn't taste his food as he's cooking or as she's cooking. And I've taken that to heart. So, just to make sure this peanut butter's not spoiled. No, very good. I'm glad I used it. Alright, my next ingredient is going to be a full banana. Now, this is a pretty large banana. If it was smaller, I'd probably use 1.5 to 2 full bananas, but because this is so big, I'm just going to use 1 today. You can put it in whole, or you can break it up a little bit like I like to do. Next, I want to add some more nuts. Now, oftentimes I'll use a full cup of walnuts, but today I wanted to change it up a little bit. I wanted to mix in some different kind of nuts with my walnuts. So I put in about 1/2 cup of the walnuts, and I'm going to mix in sunflower seeds. And these are not salted, but you can buy them salted if you like the little extra flavor. So I filled it up almost to the full cup, because what I want to also do is add in what's called flax seeds. Now this is powdered flaxseed, and I like to use this in cooking because it doesn't have a lot of flavor, but it packs in a lot of nutrients. Specifically, you're going to get some vitamins, some B vitamins, and a lot of omega-3s just from that little bit right there. So I'm just going to dump it right on top and set that aside. Now, to make these a little sweeter, the banana will add an essence of sweetness, but to make them a little sweeter, I like to add in some of my dried fruits. I use raisins and cranberries. If you're not a fan of cranberries or raisins, you can add anything you want. Maybe dehydrated mango, maybe dehydrated peaches, maybe craisins. That mixes these two together. So I'm going to measure out about 1 cup of dried fruit. And you'll notice this bag is already open. Last time I opened it, it didn't want to open properly, so I just ripped off the top. Okay, about 1/2 cup of those. Add about 1/2 cup of the raisins, and now I got a full cup in there. Dump them right on in. Now, another addition of flavor that I like to put in is cinnamon and nutmeg. These kind of add almost a Christmassy flavor to me. Just a little fun, festive kind of a flavor. Now, what I'll be using to measure these out is going to be tablespoon and teaspoon. Now, the teaspoon, it takes about 3 of these to fill 1 of these. And I like cinnamon a lot more than I like nutmeg. So I'm going to use about 1.5 tablespoons of nutmeg and a teaspoon and a half of nutmeg and a full tablespoon of cinnamon. So I'll do the cinnamon first. And unfortunately it doesn't fit inside, so you just kind of have to measure it on top. If you spill a little bit, if you go a little overboard, it's not a big deal. Just put it out with your finger. Good enough. Same thing with the nutmeg. Now what's nice about this is they've designed it to where the teaspoon will fit inside. You can just drag it along the top and throw it right on in. So with those being done, now there's a couple of different methods of mixing this together. You could use spoons, you could use a professional mixer, or you can use your hand tools. These are my favorite. Now make sure your hands are clean before you do this, because you're just going to dig them right on in, and you're going to mix everything around. And I got the bananas in there, so I got to squeeze it all together. You're going to see it start to come out of your fingers. That means you're doing it right. And if you start to make a little bit of mess on the counters, that's okay. It's nice. As I'm starting to mix this together, I can smell some of those spices being mixed together with all the other ingredients. Now this mixing will take maybe a minute or two, depending on how hard you want to squeeze, how much aggression you need to get out from the day. I find when I do this early in the morning, it takes closer to 2 minutes. When I do it at the end of the day, I can mix this whole batch in like 45 seconds flat. Now, one thing you'll notice, if you use too much banana, when you try and form the cookies, they don't hold together as well. So you want to be careful not to use too much banana. If you do make the accident of using too much banana, which I've done plenty of times before, you can just add a little bit more peanut butter, and it'll bring it back together and hold things together a little bit better. Okay, now that I've had a little fun in here, I feel like it's really starting to form, and you'll know you put enough peanut butter in when you can really pull it out, most of it in like a whole glob pretty easily. If you can't do that, it's going to start to fall apart. Now as I form cookies, you pick the size that you want. You can have big, you can have small, you can keep them round, you can flatten them out, you can make them into a granola bar if you want to make them more long. It's really up to how you want to do it. I like to make cookies because I feel like I'm getting a little bit of a treat. So I kind of form the ball, I roll it around a little bit, I just lightly squeeze it in my hands, trying to keep how I like it to look. Now, through the magic of video recording, I'm going to show you how easy it is to put all these onto a tray. And I'm done. So here you'll notice that my tray is lined with tin foil. There's a couple of options here. I like to use tin foil when I cook because it provides a more of a non-stick surface. If you want to use a cooking oil or a baking oil, a lot of people do that as well. This just makes cleanup a little bit easier for me, so this is how I choose to do it. Now what you're going to want to do is you're going to turn your oven on to 350 degrees. And once it gets the temperature, you're going to want to put your cookies in for about 10 minutes on one side and 5 to 7 minutes on the other. Really, however you bake them is up to you. If you want them a little bit more raw, if you want them a little bit more crispy, the longer you keep them in the oven, the crispier they're going to get. And what's nice about this recipe here is all the ingredients that we've mixed in, you can eat raw. So if you have a little extra left in the bowl, you can always take some out and eat it. Perfectly fine. But once you cook it, it adds a whole level of flavor to it. So, again, after you're done, when they come out of the oven, they're going to form nice little cookies, or however you want to shape them. What I'd like to know is if you make this recipe, what did you change about it to make it your own? Or if you want to make something else, would you show me what you made and tell me how you made it so I could try it as well? I hope you're having a good morning, and I'll see you later. Better?